Hey everybody, this is Bruce with habowskistudio. Today's adventure is going to be on the Messalonskee stream here in town where I live, in Maine. And the experiment is painting from my kayak. And before, I've taken my kayak out recently with my normal plein air painting gear and get out of the kayak and set up along shore. Well, this experiment is to see what if you don't have access to get out of your kayak along a shoreline. So I've painted from my kayak once before and it worked okay. I'm using my 6x8 Gorilla Box and just a few colors, and we'll see what happens. So thanks for joining me. Okay, here we are on the Messalonskee stream here in Waterville, Maine. Kind of a nice day out, a little bit hazy, sunny. Expecting some rainy weather tomorrow, but super flat water. So the plan today is just to practice using the kit and the kayak and work on some reflections in water. It'll be a perfect day for it. It's not breezy at all. Reflections in water. Also, with this little experiment, I did not bring any weights for the kayak like I have in the past. My plan is to I just wanted to reduce weight to carry if I had to carry the kayak into a spot for a little bit, but also to reduce just gear in general. So my plan is to find a spot, it's not any moving water really, and find a spot and just back into it and keep me stable enough to paint something. So we'll see what happens. Okay, I think I'm going to try that composition, just something simple, just get the feel of working with the kit and the kayak. And what I've done is I've kind of beached the back end of the kayak on this little bit of dirt here, as you can see probably behind me. It's stuck up on there about a foot or two, so that should hold me plenty steady for this little exercise, because the water is super calm. And let's get to it. I'll set up my stuff and show you. Okay, here's what I got going on so far. It's just spring clamped board to the gunnel of the kayak. My Gorilla Box sits in some holes appropriate for the bump-ons, the little bumper feet on the bottom, and so that keeps it stable there. And we're going to see how this experiment works. I'm going to finish setting up the gear. Okay, let's see what happens, and try to narrate, and parts get a little too focused on the painting. We'll do voiceover with my new microphone that I got from my PC, so I'm going to be pretty happy with that. Alright, just gonna get a filbert here, and I'm using a little bit of oil, and the palette's going to be ivory black, titanium white, rose madder, and cad yellow pale. So let's just get some tone here, a little bit of red and black and blue. Get my horizon line established. And I really like the reflections, so I'm going to play into those. So I'm going to go just a little over half here. I don't need many strike lines, and I'm going to have the dark reflections. I'm basically trying to just create a wedge that I see. And as I come into the sunlight, a little bit of yellow, cad yellow pale mixed in there. I'm not sure how the glare is going to come off the panel here, but hopefully it won't be bad. Matter of fact, I think I might go ahead and try to hold the camera. This way, let's see if we can try to reduce any glare issues I might have. So I'm just kind of, just to establish my drawing a bit, I'm just a little bit of terps to get some base tones in there. I got my blue with a little bit of red and black into this yellowish. And for now I'm just scrubbing in, just to give me the idea of the darks, so then I can study it and decide, yes, I want to commit to this composition, You could use a viewfinder, do thumbnails, all that good stuff. I am too impatient. I like to just jump in, find the energy in a composition, and you know, I've been painting a while, and I think after a while you get a natural inclination as to what you initially see in a composition right off. So there are going to be a few times, depending on the subject, when you might need to sit back and study, do some thumbnails, but I'm not going to do it this time. And of course, you see how I'm just creating what I see, creating some base shapes, and I'm going to scrub in. The value is going to be just a hint darker. Of course, these aren't going to be exact matches yet. I'm just getting, again, the idea of the reflections that we can cut across later. I think this kayak thing's going to work out pretty good. So relaxing and peaceful. Check that out. I mean, you could sit here all day, just paddle down a stream and do a whole series in your town as an idea for an exhibit. It'd be super cool. What's nice too, along the shoreline, there's the little reed grass, which is nice yellow green. That's going to be nice against these cool shadows. And I just brought a small set of brushes for this experiment. If I continue to enjoy this, I'll really, as they say, pimp out my kit and make sure I have all the brushes I feel I'll need. I didn't go too big brushes. It's about the biggest I would carry anyway for the scale of the piece, because these are 6 by 8, so you could do 8 by 10 on this and 9 by 12. It's doable with a little small bungee. You can just loop it on one side, go around the box, come back the other side of the panel, and that'll hold it against there. So if it's super windy in a location, using a little bit I'll be using a little bit of linseed oil as needed later. So don't worry about those edges tickling together. It's kind of cool. Coming out pretty nice. I mean, I'm already just a few minutes into this and actually I'm going to I think I'm going to put that bridge in there to give a hint of man's intrusion into the landscape. So that'll be my sort of narrative. And it's a little tight for getting back and forth, so I can't really show you too much in this video, panning down to mix colors because of the angle I have to hold the camera. You know what, I'm not going to put that bridge in. I just don't think there's enough to suggest. Make it a pure landscape. Decisions on the fly, folks. This is what we do as painters. Let's go for the pure. Okay. Get some, and you will, because of the 6 by 8 Gorilla box, you'll have to clean up a little bit as you go along. There's not a lot of big mixing area, but that's the way it is. Just to get a base going here, some ultramarine and white, of course. Play around modifying that later on. I'm going to touch of black into it, just to getting it wet enough. I'm not looking for the perfect final say and structure. What I'm doing is just getting some poster color notes, so to speak, to see how I like how they talk to one another. And then the subtle modifications you would do later on, you'll know that they'll work because you have the base, bigger color patches nailed. I'm going into a little bit of oil. Don't get your paint too oily though. Some of your paints, depending on what you we'll use are already pretty oily out of the tube, so you want to be careful. I'm not getting too close to the tree lines, just want to get a pop of color going on. And I can just tickle a few of the edges towards the horizon, but okay, now I like the overall effect of that. Let's try to get some deeper tones in now for the shadow. Going back into the rose madder, ultramarine blue, touch of black, and some yellow. A little bit of linseed oil. And still reserving that shoreline for the reed grass. I'm not just filling in too much, I'm dancing around a bit to save some of the initial coat of paint that I put there. Can you hear the frogs over there? Pretty cool. Oh man, this is the life. I'm in shade. It's not too hot yet today anyway. I mean, it's 8:30 in the morning. Pretty cool. Okay, let's get some similar, obviously, color going on down below. Whatever you have above should be reflected a bit below. You can let it intermingle. It's okay. While you got a little dirt on your brush, so to speak, go ahead and knock in some maybe shadows over here. Black and yellow. And you got a little bit of light coming across right here, which is really cool. Switching brushes, I don't clean it out, I just leave it because I could use it later. This is why having several going on at the same time. Let's get a little pure yellow mixed in with the assumption, obviously, the paint that's already there is going to be, will kill it down enough. And be confident, look at your highlights and try to commit. If you need to move a couple for compositional, like, hey, it's going to look better if I do this or that, as long as it makes sense, add what you want. But so let's knock in. Don't go too many strokes. Pick up some more yellow. You can tickle the edges and do all that, make it look like a tree and all that stuff later. Kind of cool. Now muddy it up just a bit. See how I created strings across here? Just steal into something else. Make sure you bring in some of your highlight down into your water. It's not going to be as bright as above, and depending on the water movement, it will obviously either be a pretty nice reflection or be broken up by ripples and, you know, all that sort of thing. Again, try not to I'm using just a Robert Simmons Sapphire Series filbert, handy little thing. Let it intermix with the sky a little bit. Just trying to, now don't forget to bring some of that down. I'm going to go ahead and wipe the yellow on this brush. I'm going to go ahead and knock in some of that reed grass, stealing a little bit of my string, moving some of the yellow over to this cooler, because it should still mixing a little more yellow into that cooler. And let's see what we get. Kind of try to design this here. Try to move in a little bit. Ready? Plant. Pull. Plant. Stop. Turn the brush. Pick up some more yellow. Just the reed grass reflection. And as long as I get the feel of it, I can finesse it when I get home. A little more control. Kind of awkward to be using a maul stick. You could out here. These are super calm conditions, so it typically is not your usual situation, but I think I'd still be protected in windy conditions of where I'm at along the shore here. Get that bright, try to get that bright sunlight against. And with these brushes, because they're short, sometimes you get in a habit like a pencil, try to hold it further back, because try to lay the paint on here. Just the reflection. Just getting some other suggestion of color notes for the time of morning. Again, get those just a little bit darker for down below. Going to pick up some darker green to suggest. So you can see how using a limited palette is the bomb. I remember back in the day using this rose madder one time when I took just a couple classes from a local guy, nothing major, and he used what was it? It was the rose madder, I think it was cad yellow, and then Prussian blue for his primary, and it was amazing. Whoa, a little something bit at the top of the water there, cool. And it was amazing how far I could push some color. I was painting an apple at the time, and something's in the water messing around over here. See that? Cool. Someone's checking me out here. Okay, put that brush back up. Let's work on some water. Move around, blend. And I'm getting a lot of activity right here with some ripples going on. Something is poking around in the water there. Pretty cool. Oh, I should be fishing, I guess. Okay, back to pay attention here. Look at that. And be careful when you're doing this. Try to watch as you recede into space. I'm giving this suggestion of movement a little more ultramarine blue. Some strokes. If you get just enough keystrokes in the right spot, boom, you have water. You don't need to be, you know, your human eye can see more, but you want to be careful over, especially depending on the scale of what you're painting. You need very little. Wow, there is something's going to jump in the kayak here. So we do this, and when you do this, you want to be careful. You can only get away with so many strokes because your brush is getting sullied by pulling hardly any pressure, but if you can barely touch it, the oil helps glide over. You want to be careful not to look mechanical. Flip. Try to get a suggestion of activity, but I'm really liking the effect of this. I'm happy with this. Just add variety to the water. It's amazing how little we need to get what we want to suggest. And I might save this and mess with it when I get home, but I'm going to try a little experiment. I'm wiping off excess paint off scene here. Now I can do this, and then maybe with a little bit of the green and a little bit of the blue, not much, I can try to split the difference here, very going back and forth. And you can also just take a brush and, but as your brush becomes dirty, you can move it to the appropriate area where it makes sense for color and such. Doesn't need to be much, but cutting across too much and you'll lose your effect of your flat calm water. I mean, I've kind of made it a little. See how this is getting out of, I gotta pull more reflection down. I'm going to intensify the sky just a bit. Now I'm just going to intensify some of those blue greens in the shadows, a little bit of oil, ultramarine blue, pale yellow. I'm going to try to bring out even more just from the layers that are there by adding more darker tones. I create variations within the shadows, just in little areas. Probably won't see it much in the shadows here, but just to suggest, especially to make the light pop a little more up in there. And I'm going to do a little bit of a warm tone green, just give it a little variation. Probably not going to show up much. Watch the reflections there. You can see how the sunlight from my brushes, it can be distracting. Okay, this is coming out pretty nice. Now to finish this up, I'm just going to work on this a little bit, put a little more variation, some sky holes, and call it good. Okay, here's what I got going on. Really liking it and stuff. We'll take a look when I get home and do a little quick analyzing then. Okay everybody, I'm going to wrap up this video. I want to thank you for joining me. It was about a, I think 40-minute study here. Nothing too grand, but I'm liking how it's looking on site here. When I get it home, we'll take another look at it away from the subject. I'm just going to spend just a couple more minutes touching up, like I mentioned, the left-hand side with the highlighted trees. Bring out a little more unique detail and call it good. So until next time. Oh, and if you're new to the channel, thank you for checking it out. I invite you to subscribe, turn on your notifications to be alerted when I post new videos for everyone else. Thanks for continuing to watch my videos. And everybody, I invite to look at my Facebook page, Habowskistudio. Hit the like button and invite you to follow there. I post little pictures and stuff that I don't put on my YouTube channel. So you never know what you're going to find. All right, I might even, since this didn't take very long, I might even do another one. We'll see. Okay guys, so I'm heading back to the launch point. Wow, that was great. That was great. I really think everybody out there should try this. If you got a kayak Get out there with your little kit, work something out, a couple spring clamps, a piece of board, put your kit on top of that, and you're up and painting. Worked wonderful. And there's plenty of little quiet streams around in America, I'm sure, and worldwide if you're watching from Russia or something. But super, super beautiful day. And I actually have, I'm planning to go out and meet a painter that I met on Facebook. I've seen his work locally and reached out on Facebook. And we're going to do some plein air painting, urban painting, later this evening around 6. So I usually don't get a chance to do some evening urban paintings, and I am looking forward to that. And meeting this guy and talking shop and, you know, all that good stuff. It's very helpful to get out there and meet other artists and see what's going on. So I'm almost at the launch point. Okay, everybody, here's what I ended up with, and I am pretty happy with the piece. Getting away from the subject really helps, and I like that I added this little dark note. I got to intensify just a bit down there, but to pick up some of the dark from over on the right. But I like that this is about 2/3 dark to the light side there, and the way I handled the water. So overall, like it. It's not going to need too much. I don't want to clutter it up. Actually, this would make a nice little enlargement. Not sure. We'll think about that some more, but pretty darn happy with it. I like having the rose madder on the palette. That worked out pretty well. And yeah, as this dries, I might scumble over some just pale yellow with maybe some white or something to get some real highlights here and there. But yeah.